And we are back here at HPL, guys. We're going into Game 4 between Kaldi and Greensheep. Kaldi came out to a quick 2-0 lead. Greensheep got the win in the last match. He only needs 2 more to complete the first three straight comeback.
Yeah, the reverse sweep here, every time you see one of those, it's so exciting, and the fact that we have an opportunity to have it happen, absolute treat as far as I'm concerned. We've seen both these guys kind of flip-flop back and forth with strategies. A lot of mind games going on here. Who do you think's got the edge of this matchup? Just straight from the mind games, not looking at the score.
I got to say, Kaldi's got a little bit of an edge. He's definitely understood his matchups a little bit better and played his plan out a little bit better, but that has to do a little bit of Greensheep's hands haven't really panned out the way that he wanted to. We've seen some pretty poor draws from him in the first couple games. In the last game, he had a great draw early, puttered out a little bit in the middle there, but he ended up getting just enough for the win there. When Kaldi actually draw, it didn't work out as well for him in the last game, but you know he's up 2-1, so you got to say that Kaldi's the favorite here.
Yeah, as far as the matchup's concerned, as far as the game count's concerned, I got to believe with you. But guys, Game 4 is about to get underway right now. Get out there on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL. Let everyone know who you're supporting. Let everyone know exactly how much you love when hunters just do nothing but attack the face. And look at this, more swaps of strategies here. Kaldi's back to Hunter, but it looks like mid-range Hunter with those 2 Savannah Hymanes in here. And Greensheep's playing Mech Mage.
It's a deck I haven't seen in a while, and I'm glad to see it back. Mech Mage was such a force there for a little while right before.
Wait a minute, Kaldi had 2 copies of Savannah Hymane in his hand, and then he mulliganed away, and he's drawn a copy of Arcane Golem now.
Oh, this is interesting. This is like one of the hybrid Hunter decks that got really, really popular there towards the end of last season.
He's got a Wolf Rider too. What's going on?
Yeah, this is the hybrid deck that became very popular. It has a lot of elements of the really aggressive deck, but it still has a couple cards left over in it, like Savannah Hymanes, to really battle against these warrior decks that got really popular. So you had some late game play.
So we're just going to see a Frostbolt straight away. Second Wolf Rider in this hand. If the hand pans out this way, there's really no way that Greensheep could ever suspect that Savannah Hymane's coming on the board. I think it's actually one of the most powerful points about this deck is that it can come out swinging, and then at the same time, when you've used your removal spells a little bit more loosely than you would tend to, and then they come follow up with Savannah Hymane, it can spell a lot of trouble.
Now, an interesting play there. You see Kaldi trade with his Wolf Rider. Now, I feel that he has to, because if you leave that guy in play too long, being able to use a hero power and playing his minions for cheaper is just too much value on Greensheep's side, and you're not going to race that way.
So this animal companion, thankfully for him, pulls up that Misha. Something like Leok or maybe Huffer would have potentially spelled a little bit of disaster here, but look at this. I mean, he's got Fireball if he wants to deal with it this way, and then that first attack, every single time that Snow Chugger hits you, it's going to shut off one of those turns that you can use a weapon, and that's exactly where he wants to be. He wants to make sure Eagle Horn Bow is not a factor moving into this next turn.
So one of the reasons I was pretty excited about seeing Mech Mage, I love Snow Chugger. It's one of my favorite cards in the game. He's just great. He's just like this little bitty unassuming 2-3 guy for 2, but he does so much.
Yeah, he definitely chugga-chuggas his way in there.
Chugga is love, chugga is life.
Yeah, still continuing to have to trade here. I mean, this is kind of showing you exactly the strategies that you want to use to throw Face Hunter off of their game. Is you want to have threats on the board that pose a very big threat to your opponent's strategy. And so far, we've seen Kaldi use both of his Wolf Riders to push that way. That's because he's started to fall behind a little bit on board. And so when you have that happening and you're moving into these turns, Mech Mage has very efficient minions at this curve. Now, once he's done with his hand, his follow-ups become a lot weaker after that, unless he continues to draw stuff that's near the top of his curve. You know, think like Dr. Boom, Archmage Antonidas, even potentially stuff like Piloted Sky Golem. But here, I have to believe that Greensheep has got a very big edge in this game.
He's got a very big edge in this game. He's drawn the right half of his deck so far. As you said, there are some big game aspects in this deck, usually an Archmage Antonidas or a Dr. Boom, but he's drawn all of his low curve minions, and that's really where Mech Mage shines. All of its minions are very cheap and efficient for their cost, and usually better than anything else that any other deck can throw at you in the first 4 turns.
Yeah, Unleash the Hound's going to help start stifling some of this action. Going to go with Glaive Zuka here over the Iron Begal. So maybe looking to apply some pressure here finally. Haunted Creeper stays alive through that attack, heads up stuff. But now, where does he put the rest of these minions? You know, Cogmaster is one of those minions that you really need to take out to avoid your opponent getting a lot of value in terms of damage off of just that one, and look at that. But he doesn't have a mech to couple with it just yet. So this is one of those spots now where Greensheep, you know, the fact that he has these more efficient minions, he's free to make these trades. He's at a very high life total, and Kaldi's just about out of gas.
Yeah, Loth have a pretty good draw here. It's just a huge minion that's going to rule over this board until Goblin Blast Mage checks it. But Greensheep playing great in this game, has a great draw. I love his deck choice here, actually.
Yeah, I think it's been absolutely fantastic so far. Kaldi, needs to draw that higher end part of his deck right now, so that Lotheb, a very big blessing in that regard. Iron Beak Owl making sure there's no secrets here, but this is the turn for Goblin Blast Mage to potentially make a major impact.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge Goblin Blast Mage here. Let's see if it can pick off 3 minions. And
wow.
It does. The perfect Goblin Blast Mage. 1 to the face, 3 to the other minions. It might have been a little better to get the Lotheb here, so he doesn't have the hero power. He would have been able to
Patient
pass.
Assassin. So even if Kaldi draws a Savannah High main right now, it's potentially checked. That is a massive drop from that piloted Shredder.
What a Goblin Blast Mage. That was one of the better ones he could have got in that situation, and maybe even the best one he could have gotten in the situation.
That's like the royal flush he just hit, man. This hand is ridiculous. And Kaldi, just, again, no pressure. Greensheep's still at 28. He's got complete control over this game.
Yeah, Greensheep came out aggressive, had better minions than Kaldi did early, and his life total was so high that Kaldi felt he needed to start trading to stay in this game and maybe draw some of his late game threats, and he just hasn't done that.
Yeah, if Kaldi had chosen to be more aggressive with these Wolf Riders, it kind of would put him in a similar position. Everything would get answered by the hero power, and the way that Greensheep's opening hand was, he would have been able to weave in hero powers and then continue to develop his board. So Kaldi was in one of those positions where he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't in this sort of scenario. It's just the fact that this matchup, when you draw this way, is so favorable for Mech Mage, showing you exactly why it's so powerful.
Yeah, just a great queue up for Greensheep here, and he's going to reap the rewards of it. Looking like he might be able to even up this series at 2-2 and have a chance of that reverse sweep.
Yeah, I don't see Kaldi pulling this game out. He has no way to check the 5-4 outside the Arcane Golem. Kind of a blessing drop here. It will make sure that he absorbs some of this damage, but I don't think it's going to be enough at the end of the day. You're staring at an Archmage Antonidas in this hand, plus more cards, and then the hero power after that. How does he deal with the Archmage Antonidas? It's just a War Golem would be fine enough here.
Yeah, I love that he just plays it here because Kaldi's deck doesn't have a lot of ways of dealing with a 5-7, and if he does, it's almost a blessing in disguise. He's going to have to give you 2 to 3 cards and take a ton of damage from his weapon, most likely to kill this. So you're actually okay with it dying if it dies.
Yeah, I think he's totally fine with it. It looks like Kaldi's going to make that investment. Maybe he's just going to push and hope that that Greensheep just doesn't have any spells, but I don't think he can afford to do that. Kaldi is out of cards.
Yeah, Kaldi's out of cards here. He's gonna use his weapon to clean up this Goblin Blast Mage. So the board is empty, but if Greensheep draws a mech here, he's gonna be able to rebuild very, very, or just draws Dr. Boom.
Yeah, that's the best mech he could have drawn. Dr. Boom, an absolute huge draw at this stage of the game. You talk about he had an advantage. He has all but closed this game at this point. Leper Gnome is no help right now. It looks to me like we're going to game 5, Tannen.
Oh, I'm so excited. I want to see the reverse sweep. I'm not rooting for anyone in particular in this match.
Fel Reaver even in this build. He is looking for pure aggression. The fact that he's mixed in these aggressive strategies and Kaldi knows that he'll have these tendencies, it means that cards like Big Game Hunter aren't going to be in his deck as often. So he doesn't even have to reveal the fact that that was in his deck. He's able to finish it with the damage he's got. But if he queues up that again and Kaldi doesn't have Big Game Hunter, Fel Reaver could very easily take over.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy Fel Reaver turns here in HPL. We saw Kranich lose his entire deck in 1 turn earlier in this tournament, playing a Fel Reaver. Now, big moment there for Greensheep not showing the Fel Reaver. Don't give away that information. And guess what? He got the win here. He's going to have a chance at the reverse sweep. What a game! Greensheep down 0-2, kept his head cool, and now he's back to 2-2. So guess what? It's 0-0. You got 1 game for all of it, boys.
Yeah, you think there's no way to beat Face Hunter, but it's actually pretty easy. Force them to attack your minions with their Wolf Riders. Easy game, right? So anyways, when you can get Hunters to kill more minions than they typically would, that's where you really find that advantage. Greensheep ties it up and is now match point for both of these players. They're making changes to their decks again in the HPL format. They can change anything they want and do anything they want. It's still anybody's game. Get out there on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL, let everyone know who you're rooting for and what strategies you think they're going to use. When we come back, Game 5 between Greensheep and Kaldi. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.